Okay, welcome back. We're on 479 talking about Flash. I mentioned that I don't really recommend you use Flash. It is super duper, but in a low energy environment like you're on a tablet or a phone or one of those kind of things, or even a laptop that's on batteries, Flash takes an awful lot of energy to run. And an awful lot of portable devices don't support Flash at all. For example, the Apple product line does not support Flash. So why would I produce a Flash content if I know that 50% of my people can't see Flash? So if you have some Flash content, man, you better have some alternate way of getting that information to them, because it could be that 50% of your customers are not going to be able to see it. Okay, so we talked about the ways not to do it. Here's the way to not support audio. Here's the way to not support Flash. Why don't we finally get around to telling you what it is that I do want you to do? Okay, so on page 482, they actually start talking about the new HTML5 things. Okay, so in theory, these guys are self-contained and they don't need to have any internal, external, they don't have to have an external Windows media player thing to work. So I'm going to do an audio tag. Okay, so here we go. An audio tag. There's a bunch of attributes. If you go to page 480, you see a gazillion of these things. I'm sorry, not 480, 482. You get to see a gazillion of these attributes, because there are quite a few. So the source is, where the heck the file is, what the MIME type is, whether or not you want it to automatically start. God, I hate that, don't you? What type of controls do you want them to have? No controls whatsoever? Do you want the full controls where they can stop and play and rewind, that kind of stuff? Should it start over? And this is kind of a weird one, talking about if I also pull down all the rest of the media and some sort of a title. So let's go back and let's do that. So here we go. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to do type. I don't know why this thing is not coming up and doing the autocomplete thing for me. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to say this is audio, and this particular type that I'm going to be using is MPEG. Okay, so there's my type. And let's do source. And it's going to be... There, that worked. I don't know why they didn't work before. Okay, and for this particular example, let's use one of the MPEGs. Well, let's use sound loop. What the heck? Okay, and then in here, I'm going to put a tag in case nothing works. I'm going to say sound loop. Okay. All right, you guys ready? Let's run this, see what it does. And I got nothing. Okay, let's figure out what I did wrong. That sounds right. Type, audio, controls. I'm going to go ahead and throw controls in here. And this is one of those weird ones where the controls equals and you have to have something, and so the only thing there is to say is controls. Let me throw a BR here to break this thing up a little bit. I should be able to at least see the controls now. There we go. I don't know why I didn't see it before. Okay. Well, yeah, I do, because I didn't want controls. All right. So I tell you what, we're going to have to stop the video flash thing for this to work. So I'm going to temporarily comment that out. Ooh, what's the cool way to comment something out in this guy? If you can, you light up a thing here. There's a little thing that says "doink" that comments something out. So in other words, I can go to this line, hit this little button, and "doink," it automatically just comments that guy out. All right, here we go. One more time. All right, so now I can hit play, and I get the sound loop. Okay, now if I wanted that to appear without the controls, I'd have to have it auto start. Otherwise, without the controls, you'd never be able to hear it, right? Okay. Now, oddly enough, this works pretty doggone well if your machine understands exactly all of that. What happens if they don't? What happens if there's another way, you're on a machine that doesn't understand MPEG? Well, there's an alternate technique for doing this, and here's how it works. Instead of just having a single audio kind of thing inside the audio, I'm going to go in here and give it a couple of tags on the inside talking about the source. All right, so for example here, I'm going to go in and say source, and this gives me an opportunity to have each one of these things be part of a list of things. So for example, in this particular case, I'm going to take this part out. So this basically means this is my preferred technique. But however, if you don't understand that, well then let's also use this OG one. What you're doing now is you're providing the machine a choice. You're saying to you are saying to the browser, here is what I know. These are the codecs now. Do you support this codec? Yes, then go pick that one. If not, and it starts in order. So whichever one it supports first is the one it's going to use. Isn't that pretty cool? Now I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead a couple of pages, and show you there could be like a last resort thing. I could go put that H tag back in there. So I'll go in here and say href equals, let me see if I can get this thing to work today. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't work before. And so I'm going to just say there. So what this basically means is, if you support that, use that. If you support OGG, use that. If all else fails, well, hell, just throw it at the damn customer and let them figure it out. Okay, you figure out. Now let's run this one more time, make sure it still works. And there it is. And so I should be able to get the same thing we got before. By the way, there's no real way to know which one you're actually playing. Isn't that kind of odd? So this source thing is actually the way to go. Instead of putting it all inside the audio tag, which is okay, it's best to provide them choices. Now, admittedly, if you don't have choices, right? Like all I have is an MP4, and that's it. That's the only thing I got. Well, then don't do it this way. You can just do it all in one line like I had before. But if you have multiple choices, this is the way to do it. Because now you're providing the browser an opportunity to say, I got it. I know exactly what I need to do now. Okay, making sense? Okay. So, the concept here. Let's go over the concept of the audio and the source element. The concept is, you list them in the order in which you expect them to be used, like the most popular first. The hyperlink as a last resort, that unfortunately is going to use a plugin. Okay, that is going to use a plugin if you get there. There'll be no plugin if you don't get there. Cool? All right. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is using the same technique with the video element. So go to page 484, and it's going to look remarkably dissimilar. I can go in here and say, let me put a break in here. So I'm going to have a video tag. And inside the video tag, I'm going to have some source tags. And let's do a type. And let's go down to the video section. And the first one is an MPEG guy. And then source is equal to media MP4. Cool. All right. So that's the first source. And they'll go in and say, well, your machine probably knows how to do more than that, so let's keep going. So let's do a movie file, which is QuickTime. Whoa, that is not what I wanted to click on. Let's try that again. Okay, very good. And so the source is still going to be This is going to be the MOV guy. Let's do another one. Source type, and let's do video OGG. So I have an OGG file, source, and I have my OGG guy. Now, you're supposed to put these in kind of like the right order, and I would think that MP4 followed by OGG would probably be the correct order. So instead of having them in alphabetical order by extension, I'm going to go ahead and put them in what I think is going to be the correct order for use. All right, I am going to need some controls because otherwise you wouldn't be able to stop and start this guy. So controls is going to equal to controls. Isn't that the stupidest thing, to have an attribute equal to its value? But you know how video stuff works. If I was to just bring this up now and run this guy, then you know how most of these guys have like a static image here, like a screen capture that shows something about that. So borrowing from the movie thing, there's a thing called poster. And the poster is basically the graphic file that shows up before you click. Because it could be a screen grab somewhere there in there. So I'm going to do mine. And I'm going to do media Sparky JPEG. Okay, so now I have a particular one that I want to show up there. Alright, so let's go ahead and go one more. And that is, I'm going to do one of those A tag agains. href, except in this particular case, I guess I'm going to steal this bottom one. Since I don't really want to have two of those. Doggone it. So basically now what I'm saying is, if you can't figure it out, well then, too bad. This would be Sparky. Okay, you guys see what I'm saying? I'm going in and producing me a video control, putting them in the order in which I expect them to be used, and then at the last minute, you know, the fallback position in case something goes wrong, I'll just throw the file at you and say, dude, you take care of it. And if it works, great. If not. You could even throw in a flash thing here. I mean, I really could go in here and do an embed guy, right? Have an embedded something another going on. Some sort of like a shockwave thing, a shockwave version of Sparky. You could. And I would probably put that one last if it were me. I would go with the most appropriate versions of these guys first. I don't know if I can leave it in there or not. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run this now that I got everything kind of working the way I want. And so now we have Sparky.
Speak, Sparky.
Arf.
Speak.
Okay, that was Sparky. Alrighty. So you might be asking yourself, no, wait a minute. How do I know which one of these things is the most supported? Yeah, you need to go to the web. There's an awful lot. Remember the can I use thing? Remember that? Go here and I say, can I use? And you can go in and put in things like the video element. And it'll tell you basically which one of these things are being used, and you can get down a little further whether or not it supports particular tracks. And WebM, well, not all that good, is it? I mean, Safari can't handle it, and all these guys, and IE can't handle it. And let's go back to OGG. Well, ooh, man, OGG is not all that great for video. And MP4, everyone can do MP4. See how this thing works? You just go through the list, and you come up with which one of these things can use, which one of these things are not going to be useful. Okay, so once again, the philosophy behind this is, I produce a video control. I want it to use the internal HTML5 stuff. However, I don't know what codecs you have, so I'm providing you 2 different or 3 different versions of the exact same video so your browser can figure it out. And then at the last minute, I'll just throw something at you in case that doesn't work. Okay, this is a good place to stop for the 15-minute mark. We'll pick this thing up again in just a few.